I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be. Hello, everybody, the world. It's Todd Scrima, the lovely Robyn, LaVassaur, and Jimmie, and we're coming at you today with our Loan Officer podcast. And I just want to, we're going to try something different and just kind of drop a topic and just see what happens. So I am coaching a great producer yesterday, and guy's got a net worth of $3.5 million, makes about 800 grand a year last few years in a row. And he is too nice, and he doesn't ask good questions, and he tiptoes around things all the time. So I find, so when I've coached people over the years, and I don't know what your guys' experience is because I'm just dropping this on you, but I find there's a different level of communication. For example, you two have it at a very high level, different styles, but you have it at a very high level where you're not afraid of conflict. You're like, hey, I feel this way. Hey, I've got this problem. Let's figure it out. And I wanted to see what you guys thought on that, because I see it like, let me say it a different way. If I coach someone that makes 100, 200 grand a year, they always shy from confrontation and being bold and asking good questions. If I coach someone that's 500,000 to $1 million, they're better at it.
Well,
$1 million
what
earners,
a great industry
masters.
where you can be what a great industry where you can be kind of wimpy and make 100 to 200 grand a year.
Totally agree.
I mean, the thing that sticks out to me right away is, wow, are we so lucky, right? Right now, everybody's
without
like,
a college education,
all I can
Jimmie.
think about, like, it's like, wow, dude, how lucky are we?
Hey, Jimmie, I had to pass a test.
A couple $100 grand, dude.
I had to pass a test. Come on.
I did 20 hours.
I did 20 hours free education. What are you talking
This
about?
cracks me up, man. It's like we focusing forward. You know, it's the best of times. So,
Well, I think that, one of
the topic that you're talking about, I have been doing nothing but talk about the same topic, and you and I are buddies and business partners or whatever, and we talk very little. And I'm talking about the same thing with all my people, and it's be more bold. Like with the new, we have a training program at Summit, Mortgage Loan Apprentice. We have this 3-month program. We're gonna give them the best chance and nudge them out the nest, and then after that, we're coaching them every other week, and it's always the same thing, man. Be more bold, like take a swing.
So it's almost an adjective, right? It's almost an adjective, Jimmie. So what is bold? Like, because we can say be more bold, but what does it mean? What is it?
Well, okay, being more bold is telling people what you want and what you need. That's what I think. So like, you're in a relationship. I want to spend more time with you. I'm not getting enough time. Instead of being passive aggressive and poking them and like, you know what I mean? Like trying to get them to understand without actually just coming out and saying it. Right? So being more bold is don't send a text, pick up the phone. Hey, I'm concerned. I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks and we do deals together. Is everything okay? Like,
yes.
Be more bold. Like,
so more bold is also like more direct, right? Like really,
I think of it as seeking confrontation, because I don't think that's a bad word. Like to seek it out. Either. I don't think it's a bad word. Conflict is the same thing, really. And I think that any relationship that doesn't have that is not real.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get in an argument with your referral partners once in a while, or they don't tell you that you're not doing that great, it ain't real. It ain't gonna last.
Yeah. Well, and I think being more bold is also being more vulnerable, and that's why people don't do it. Right?
I don't like that word. Yeah.
And nobody likes that word, right? Like you hear the word vulnerable, especially in men. I mean, no offense, boys, but like men especially are a little bit like, yee, I do not like vulnerability.
I recently was way more vulnerable, and then I found myself drifting towards being insecure, which I'm never insecure. I shouldn't say never, but not a lot. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out.
Oh, that means you're also opening up your heart, though.
Your business partners, you'll be more on the table, and it's like you're putting a risk out.
Yeah.
But that's the only way to grow, I think.
Well, it isn't risk and vulnerability memorable, right? Isn't being true to your authentic self, being bold, being direct, having conflict if it's necessary, or being vulnerable with reality, like those things are memorable. When you walk around as a loan officer right now in a sea of other loan officers, a sea of other loan officers. Some of my best referral partners literally are having lunch with other lenders and getting tagged on Facebook. Now, I check the data. They're not closing with them, but they're taking them to lunch, right? Like it's everywhere. So is that lunch memorable, or is time with me memorable? Because at the end of the day, people gravitate towards things that make them feel something more than anything else. And if you're not memorable, if they can't really remember the conversation, if they can't really remember the value, if they can't really remember the last call that the two of you had that made an impact on them, which requires feeling, then you're losing. And so being bold is really required when the market is, what is your differentiating factor? Everybody's got a price, everybody's got a product, most are right in line with one another. So what differentiates you? And most of that comes from being bold, I believe.
Well,
So,
Todd,
Robyn,
what do you like when you think about being bold with the topic
yeah,
you
so
brought up, your presentations?
I
Like,
love
do
role
you think
plays.
direct questions, or what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. So let me do a quick role play. So
Uh-oh.
because I think it helps the audience. They're like, oh, be more bold. Like you need an example. So let's say Robyn. Let's say I'm visiting a real estate office, and Robyn kind of knows me. She's the realtor. I kind of know her. I'm the lender, and we're casually chit chatting, right? I get to get away from chit chat into something, right? So I'm chit chatting with Robyn, and I said, hey, do you got just like 3 or 4 minutes we can pop in this conference room? Yeah. Robyn, let me ask you a question. I know there's some crazy stuff going on these days. In business, what's your biggest fear about the future? And let's say that Robyn said, well, reaching my goals. And I say, oh, yeah, why do you say that? Well, because last year I did 32 deals, with my best year ever. And I haven't closed a transaction for 2 months. Oh, so why is that important? Well, you don't know me that well, but my husband actually died a few years ago and we didn't have any money. And my 2 kids are poor. I help support them sometimes. And it's kind of weird for me to tell you this, but I actually put my mortgage on my credit card last month. And I probably have 2 months left in the business if I don't fix it. And I would say, wow, Robyn, thank you for being so open. You know, I'll tell you one time when I first got in the business, I had a time where I opened the cupboard and there was literally the only thing in my cupboard was 1 cup of noodles. So I identify with that. And so let's talk about how to fix it. That would be like that role play may have taken 3 minutes.
Well, you did also just prove that you're in college, because that cup of noodles for sure is in the college years,
It
right?
was in college.
Like, okay, just making sure that we could have that conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a really good role play. I think one thing to add to it is it takes more whys than just 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been in the room, you're a master at this technique that you're trying to teach everybody, which is find out what their biggest struggle is, find out what their pain is, and then find out why it bothers them. And you can't ask just once. Why? Because they're going to give you a surface answer. The second time, it's still going to be a protective answer. Third time, it'll start to get a little real. And that's where most salespeople stop, because that's where it gets uncomfortable to ask the 4th time. And you have to find a way to say it in a way that you'll say it and keep going the 4th and 5th and 6th times.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we teach people the whys, which is what you're teaching, right?
Yep.
Todd, right? And then they get in front of a person and they're like, well, why is that important to you? And they say, well, because I need to close more deals. Okay, that makes sense. Let's work on that.
Yes.
Right? Instead of going, well, why do you need to close more deals? What do you mean, why do I need to close more deals? Because I want to close more deals. Yeah, I know, but it's different for everybody. That's what transition I use. Yeah, I know what the answer probably is, but it could be different for everybody. And what I care about is what your answer is. Mm-hmm. Why do you need to close more deals? Is that really what you need, is more deals? Yes. Why? Well, what do you mean why? Everybody wants more deals. But why do you want more deals? And to keep not letting them off the hook, uncomfortable, that's the being bold part. Because when this gets wiggly, I've been in a room with Todd in front of this these guys who own this big Remax franchise in our area, and they're professional dudes. Like, you know, in real estate and lending, there's various levels of professionalism. Would you agree?
Yeah.
These guys are blue suit, shiny shoes, brass belt. These guys are professional. And
They're
dude,
Jim
I
and
was
Todd's.
uncomfortable with you. I was like, God, stop asking them. They're gonna kick us out. Do you remember this?
Did they cave?
No.
This is up on Sunrise Boulevard. The dudes that own Remax. What's their brothers' names? You know them from way back. Me, you,
Yeah.
and Aaron met with them.
Yeah, I forgot their names. It will come
Okay,
to
you
me.
don't have to say their names, but now you remember the meeting?
Yeah. I
Aaron's
remember.
looking at me. She's squirming. She's so uncomfortable. Todd's being bold. I'm like, Aaron, it's going to work out. I know it don't seem like it. And then at the end, they're like, no one's ever asked us all those questions. No one's ever asked us what was most important to us. And they thanked you. So I'm telling that story because, guys, that role play was too easy. It was the right thing, but you
Yes.
gotta. You're not going to open up that much about their cupboard or about their kid and all that stuff until you keep asking. It's about the sixth or seventh, I find.
And it's also about, like, you guys, we all as human beings will let ourselves off the hook or say things that are kind of true but not really true, right? And so asking better questions gets better answers, but then digging around the answers can also get you there. And what I mean by that, like, I was talking to an agent yesterday. He was like, I really want you, give me some coaching. And so I said, okay, let's talk about it. And basically he said that he wasn't on track for his year, just very similar, Todd, to what you're saying. And he said, where would I drum up some business now that it's gotten quiet? And I said, where'd you drum it up before? He doesn't even really know, right? Because a lot of business has fallen in everybody's laps these last few years, one way or another, whether it be social media and you're a realtor, you got just enough friends who bought houses, and all of a sudden you're like, where's the business, right? What's happening right now? And you have to be more intentional. And so as he's talking to me, I said, out of all the deals you've done, now this is a young man, he's 21-year-old agent, just a baby, been in for a couple of years, go-getter, actually started his own brokerage in the middle of it. Like not the best thing, but that's okay. So we're getting through it. And I said, how often, all the people that you closed the last 2 years, how many times have you reached out to them? Oh yeah, I stay in contact. You do?
Never.
Yeah, I do a coffee thing a month. What do you mean a coffee thing a month? Like a gratitude, like it's, they can get a free coffee on me every single month. I said, that's your extent of reaching out to them? He said, yeah. I said, when was the last time you called them and talked to them about their equity and their back porch and their all these things? And he says, every month. And I go, no. So once a month you call every single one of them. Not every single one of them. I said, how many do you actually call? Like, get naked. Be honest with me. Get naked. Please get naked. Like, there's no judgment here. And he's like, maybe
That's
2 or 3.
bold, Robyn, saying get naked at a meeting. That's bold, girl.
That's what I say. Get naked. Take your clothes off. Let's see it. And he goes, maybe 2 or 3. I'm like, okay, so 2 or 3 of them. And what do you say? And be honest. I don't say much. You mean it didn't make an impact? No. Is it awkward? Yes. Why? I said, because you're going in thinking I should call a past client, but I don't really know what to say. So then we go into role plays and what he can say and how he can add value back to those clients and all these things. And he goes, man, it doesn't even seem that hard. I just didn't know what to say. Now I know what to say. Now I'm going to go call him. That, you're talking a loan officer that will get business from a realtor. I don't say that out of my ego. Like I just say, you will end up getting business because every time they get a win with those past client calls, guess who they're thinking of? Robyn, Jim, Todd, that's who they're thinking of. It worked. What you just taught me worked, right? Like, but when you go in, you're like, well, any deals for you? Any deals for me? Let me know if you need me at the open house this weekend. That's not bold. And people think it's bold just to meet with them or call them. That's not bold. What you just did in role play, what I did, that's being bold.
Yes. So this will help some of the audience because I learned this. I did this technique because someone told me to do it, and I'm super coachable, so I did it, and it worked really well. But I didn't know why it worked for several years. So this may help some people to actually do it. So I want everyone to think of something super personal about you. Could be your net worth, could be problems in your marriage, could be a health issue. Think of something about yourself. And then ask yourself, how many people know that about me? And usually when I ask that question, people say, oh, well, my mom and my spouse and my best friend, like 2, 3 people, sometimes one. So what happens to people psychologically, maybe physiologically, is when I share something with you about myself that only 3 or 4 people know, you're now in that circle, if that makes sense. I've had conversations with people that are super, super, super private. And once I have that talk, the relationship's always different. Always different.
Oh, yeah.
It changes the relationship. So that's the psychology behind. Now, when I say all this stuff, I don't ever mean to come across as, oh, use this trick. It's a psychological trick or it's a magic act. That's not what we're saying. This is really good communication. It's really
Dude,
good
I call it being
communication.
friends with your business partners. Be friends with them. Stop thinking of it as a business relationship and start thinking of it as a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a friendship with someone who can refer you business when you mess up, and you will mess up, they'll forgive you. But the one who's just in business with you, they won't. And so you got to be real. And to be real, I think you got to be bold going back to the beginning and have the guts to ask the questions and not give up.
So let's do something fun. I gave a question. Let's do a couple more questions because I get a lot of people like, what do you ask? And let's just throw out some stuff that I understand whenever we say this question, it's the process behind how many times you ask and do they get emotional. That's when you know you're there. So when people get emotional, they blush, they cry, they put their head down, they fold their arms, they might get exuberant and super happy. Like the emotion is, you know, you've hit it. Okay. So
I'm exuberant.
any question goes. So
Whatever
Jimmie,
exuberant is, that's what I am.
what's that?
Exuberant. So whatever exuberant is, that's me.
Okay. So Jimmie, what's a question that you have used with clients, with realtors, with a borrower that that's kind of a go-to question?
I'll give you one. It's not as emotional as what you're alluding to, but it can be if you do the whys right. One of the best ones I learned from one of my friend Lisa was, I'd be like, Robyn's really busy. So if I met with Robyn and she was an agent, I could tell her pace. I would be able to read her pace, right? I'd be able to read her pace by the way she moves, the way she fidgets, the way she looks. She's a busy person. So I love busy people. And the reason I love busy people is people say, oh, Jim, you're so busy. I say, yes, I am, but not too busy for you. I get stuff done. That's why I'm busy. I'm busy because people give me stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see a busy person, I get excited because they're like me. They get stuff done, right? So you say to them, Robyn, what's one project that you've been meaning to get to that you just can't find time to do that matters to you? And then she tells me.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, well, what's holding you back? Why haven't you gotten it done yet? And she tells me, well, time, I got 3 kids. Now I'm talking about kids. We went in so deep so fast because there's only one reason why she ain't getting it done, because she ain't prioritizing and she ain't got enough time. And the reason she got no time is because she wants to be with her family. So now we're talking about them. Well, what would happen if you got it done? What would that do for you? Then what would happen? Then what would you have? So keep going down that road, Todd. And she says, well, once I get that done, then I'm going to be able to get the business from this source, which takes me less time, but it takes so much time investing in the bit, and then I'll be able to coach Little League. Right? So what if I did it for you? What if me and my team came in and partnered and we came to your office and we helped you do it? We literally did it for you in partnership. It's totally legal. I'm helping you, you're helping me. We're generating business together. I'm not talking about doing weird stuff, but you never really organized your database. You've never really combed through it. You've never really sent out a mailer with return postage to find out who already left you and who didn't and updated it. You've never really put together a call script. You've never really put together an automatic email program once a quarter to your database. You've never really whatever. And just do it for them, man. It's a home run.
That's a good one. I like it. So what I want to point out is that Jimmie's question was actually very simple, but then drilling down, and it led through a whole process. So, Robyn, what's a question you'd love
And
to
then
ask?
an opportunity, an opportunity to find a need, fill a need, which I love, right? That's
Yeah.
really where Jimmie's going, whether it be to help time block or do something, but they're literally at that point, they're telling you a need. Which I think is awesome. A great question, a great question that I generally do. It's actually in the follow up. So we've done a lot of like starting out the bold and the why, but mine is permission to follow up. Like, what's the accountability that we can put into place, and are you comfortable with that? What can we do to make sure that what we just talked about made a difference in your business, right? Or in our business together? Like, what can we do to hold ourselves to that standard? And that's something that, literally they're like, oh, I could text you, we could do this. But let me tell you, if you can get somebody on the hook to text every day or to see some results or to see that you're in partnership with them, you're their lender. You're their for sure loan officer. Like, in fact, they feel bad working with other people because of the effort that you're putting in to them and their business and their time. And that makes, I think, a really big difference. So being willing to not only have those conversations, but then put some substance to it, right? To make sure that things are going to happen from there that'll keep you guys in connection.
Robyn, you just remind me of a quick story. This guy comes up to me in an event. Actually, Robyn, when you and I were in Vegas teaching those two events, and he comes up to me the last night and says, "Hey, I have been waiting for years to meet you. I am in your market." And, he owned a title company and all this. And then he followed up and he got a meeting. And so he got a meeting, and he was a professional salesperson. This guy owned part of a title company. You could tell he's on his A game, did the whys. I complimented him walking out. I said, "Dude, that was good." That was 2 months ago. Never heard from him. He had two things he was going to
No
get me.
follow up.
Nothing. Crickets. He pinned me down on two of my needs, told me exactly what he was going to do. Literally, no call, no email, no nothing. Crazy. So, yeah. So let's wrap this up. Huh?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that kind of boldness also tells you it's okay. It's not that you're not going to work with the agent at all, but it also tells you as a loan officer what caliber of agent you're working with, right? People that are highly engaged, that want to grow, that want to get better, that want to follow up. There's a difference there in what kind of business
Thank
partner
you.
those are going to be
Yes,
long
thank
term.
you.
And that's a great test.
Thank you, because like people are worried about offending the realtor, right? By doing these questions. If they're offended, it's because they don't do any business.
Yes.
They're not offended
Yes.
if they do a lot of business. Because if you're in business and you have a lot of moving parts, you have a lot of problems
Amen.
and
Yep.
you want to fix them and you need help. So if
Yep.
they're like, wow, this is really weird, that's kind of forward. Next.
Yep.
Like, don't worry about it. My goodness. 10-3-1. 10 talk twos, 3 say yes, 1 shows up. 10-3-1. Don't forget.
100%. It is. Yeah. I've got
Good stuff.
this new coach that's around sales and marketing, and he's drilling into my head exactly what you just said. And I always knew it, Jim, but he's like, "No, who is your ideal client exactly? Only market to them. Only find them. Then once you think you found them, only about 2 out of 10 are actually them, right?" So when you have these conversations, it sounds simple, but there's a lot to it. I was doing a meeting yesterday, and one of my loan officers wanted me to jump on a meeting with him and this gentleman who does ADUs, like little homes behind homes, right? And business is booming. The guy did 17 million last year. He's going to do 60 million this year. I only had 30 minutes. So my loan officer's sitting there, and we developed a little rapport. And of course, I follow my own stuff. So I was gushing with honor, which I looked at his website. Their design, their website. These guys are construction guys that are hitting it home. Okay. Just knocking the ball out of the park. And I don't know, like state of California last year passed a law saying any house can have ADUs. No state, they trumped all the state and local governments. So it's a booming business. And these guys have a great product. So I don't have that much time gushing. And then I went straight to the question. I'm like, "Hey, what is the biggest issue in your business right now?" And he says, "Well, actually, I got two." I said, "Okay, give me two." He says, 50% of the people who want to buy our our ADUs they don't have the cash up front, which is what we need. Like, okay, why is that important? Explain that. And he actually got very detailed as I asked him these whys. But the bottom line is, a lot of people, I was thinking most of his clients were high-end clients. No, he says, Todd, my clients are middle-income families that want to take care of mom in the backyard and put an ADU back there. And they can't afford it. Now, it's a permitted unit. So after I put it on there, the appraisal will come in, 200 grand higher. But in the moment, they don't have it. I said, okay, I think I got a solution. We set up another meeting next week. And then he had one other thing that I helped him with. But
rehab, baby.
Yeah, the loan officer texted me afterwards. He's like, dude, that was 30 minutes of fame. I'm like, I appreciate the compliments, but I'm literally thinking to myself,
no, you were mad.
I just asked some questions. Like, how hard can this be? No, you were mad
because you've been teaching that to our loan officers for 20 years.
Oh,
geez. Just won't do
this
it.
loan officer
every single day.
I just get so mad. They're like, wow, you really did what you said. I'm all, what? Yeah. Jeez.
Like we're some walking gimmick team. Like, hey, do this.
No, yeah, I really did. I pay a bunch of people under the table and they give me business and I don't make no money. What are you talking about?
So crazy. So crazy. Well, guys, what this is about is asking better questions and being more bold. And it's one of those topics like, people will listen to this and like, oh, that's a little 20 minutes of pump up. That's not the intent. The intent is come up with 3 or 4 really good questions, really get uncomfortable asking a bunch of whys so that you know what the issue is and you develop strong rapport at the same time. So we actually can do something with it. And then as Robyn said, when you actually define it, there has to be follow-up. There's got to be follow-through. And people are so bad at that. The point of the end of every meeting, as long as you want to do business with them, the point of every meeting is get another meeting. Like that home builder yesterday, we have another meeting a week from this Friday. It's done, right? The point of leaving the meeting is to get another meeting. So, guys, we're talking about a lot of stuff, but it's just basic communication. Think about people like Dr. Phil and Oprah Winfrey and Barbara Walters. Watch them do interviews. It's the same exact thing. That's what they do. And they get paid millions of dollars, or in Oprah's case, billions of dollars to do it. That's crazy.
Yeah. And they open people up who had no intention of opening up on TV.
National television.
I don't like it.
Thank you guys very much. Jim, great job. Robyn, thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great month.